nobody's better than anyone else here. Do you need some time to think it over? Look what they do to you, look what they do to me. You must be joking if you think that either one is free here. Get up off your knees, girl. Stand face to face with your God. Find out what you are. Hello, my name is human. Hello, my name is human. Hey, and I came down from the stars. Hello, my name is human.
Well, hello there, everybody. So good to see you. If you are here, then you are in the right place at the right time. In fact, if you, depending on your point of view of fate, destiny, think about this. You've been waiting for this moment all of your existence. Holy crap, that man. You have made it. You're here. You fulfilled a part of destiny. So congratulations, high five on that, and we just speak favor over all of us, nothing missing, nothing broken. Be our ever-present reality. I don't know about you, but when I hit onto the other side, I want that word to be a credit to me. Well, this dude always said favor, nothing missing, nothing broken, thus be it granted. I'll go, y'all kiss my ass, I'm out of here. So anyway, we are back on Wednesday. And this is the panel where we're going to get into some more cow tipping. It's a big sport in the South, and it's also those for us, excuse me, as I get to my cell phone. Didn't you see the sign, Steiger? Turn the damn cell phone off. Anyway, so as he continues on. So this is where we talk about this taboo subject, and there's a lot of different channels, have a lot of different approaches. I kind of like the fact that we kind of approach this from kind of a philosopher's point of view. You know, we all are eternal beings, right, panel? Which, by the way, you know, my beautiful co-host, Miss Nina the Mystic. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm doing great. So how are you, Wayne?
Any better, I'd be guilty, but I was never that innocent to begin with. So, other than that, I am exceptional and unique. My wife will attest to that. She says, you're unique, all right. But speaking of unique, JD, how you doing?
Hey, Wayne, I'm doing good. And thank you for having me once again. I'm always excited.
Always an honor.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a think tank. Deep dives we hear. Hey, Ballot Brandon, how are you do? Now he's right over there in the thick of it, you know, Rome. Have you hit the Vatican yet, yes. Brandon?
Make sure you get to the basement.
Yeah. Tell us about how deep that really goes. I tell you, I don't know.
Yeah.
So today, panel, I want to bring up the framing our discussion around the following. We live in a time and an era, and depending on your particular point of view, Franklin Graham says that all of demons of hell are being loosed right now on the earth. And he says hell on earth is coming. Now it's interesting because it appears to me, as I have said on Monday's show, that we have one particular ideology, thought process, that we have framed all of our beliefs into, and unfortunately it's Christianity. It's this Abrahamic blood cult that extends out into the three major religions. So here is the foundation of our discussion. How can demons be influenced by something that is recent and new as Christianity? If these beings are in fact immortal, eternal, then why would they be impacted by a religion that they know is either false, made up, or not real? I pick your door. And the thing that gets me as well, in the modern day Western idea, when you talk about demonology, it's always ugly. It's always somehow or another, it offends somebody's sense of morals, their sense of direction. And I'm asking myself, I said on Saturday, particularly, the weather was beautiful. And I asked these beings, I said, how can you be a demon if you're not a Christian already? Or was at one time a Christian? And how could you then be a Christian or an anti-Christian as a demon when you're immortal? You know of a time when there probably was no religion at all. So panel, I'll open it up that whoever wants to step into the mosh pit, come on in.
I mean, I think with this here, I struggle a lot, and a lot of the people that follow my channel, I think, struggle with this too. And that, the only thing that most of us really have to pull from and associate a lot of these things with is things that we know, which through the lens of things that we know and are familiar with, such as Christianity. I don't believe that these beings derived from it. They've been attached to it, I think, only because these spirits are certainly ones that would go against the concept of religion by and large, just as a control mechanism of which it truly is. And I think that for the most part, if they are subject to this religion in some kind of way, or subject to the power of it, it's only because of the time and attention that us human beings have put into the creation and the feeding of this God, of this concept. And that just goes to show you, I think, how powerful we are. In that if we put our time and attention and focus on a certain thing, it's going to manifest, it's going to be prevalent in this reality. Most of these demonic spirits, or what are considered demonic spirits, certainly powerful, yes, but they do not have the human time and attention, interaction, and energy being put towards their manifestation here in this physical realm anymore as they used to in the past. So, in many cases, they were asleep and now they're awakening. So I agree with what that gentleman was saying, that these spirits are being loosed upon the earth, but I don't really see it as a savage beast being unleashed, as much as I do see it as just really a huge mirror that is being revealed to humanity, so that we can really take a good look at ourselves and what we've done and what we've become through this religion. Mostly, what world are we living in? We're living in the world that is governed by these three major religions, like you were talking about before, and what is the state of the world? It's pretty effed, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, just to consider that for a moment and see where we've been and see where we're going. And I don't think that many people would disagree that it's time for something to change. I think that we've ridden this horse long enough, and I think that it's proven to not really be taking us where we want to go. Our humanity is really suffering a great deal, and we really do not know who and what we are. And I think that is really what these beings are trying so desperately to get us to wake up to the fact of who and what we are, more than anything else.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think, you got to remember back, 2,000 years ago, I guess, or we can debate the whole timeline there, but, there was a big meeting, right? Council of Nicaea. They came up with all of this. And of course, I have heard this, I don't know if it was an archbishop or something like that, who admitted that, hell was invented by the church, okay?
Yep.
This whole thing is all just invented by whatever that council was, the elites of the day, and so like it says in the Bible, Azazel is literally a scapegoat, and also that they're hanging out together, the buddies. It was a big, huge meeting. It was a big, huge collaboration. They probably took a few.
It was ordered by
spirits.
Constantine, by the way, which is very interesting.
Exactly.
You study his life.
Yeah.
And him and his mother, I mean, she was a witch.
Well, there we go. So they were already collaborating with some of these spirits. So to me, demons, angels, it's all spirit to me. And, back in the day, the church just called them demons, demonized them, basically. Took a few, and I do believe that they're working together.
Interesting. Okay.
This is a business, right? In order to get the money in the plates, you need to have
to make you a deal you can't refuse.
Yeah, so you have to have, they got to have some proof. Like you said, that when you were doing it, you were casting out demons, you're doing all kinds of things. I believe that they're all in on it. It's all one big show.
Well, the thing that's always gotten me is, how could a demon be influenced by a name that never existed?
Well,
Jesus.
They're not. Yeah, they're not in that way. No.
And it's odd because all the movies, you've seen it, and I think Russell Crowe is in one now. You have the Catholic Church who has these records of these official exorcisms that are grotesque. And I'm sitting here going, but and because I'm a Bible student, I was a minister. What most people don't realize, where demons are concerned in Christianity, because it was added to the Abrahamic belief system, was we get introduced to it in the Gospel of Mark that was never written by Mark. So here comes this Jesus cat smoking, his joint and popping out the mushrooms, and man, he's really digging the message of love. And man, he's got his harem around him. I mean, there were groupies back then, as there are today, and he's kind of digging it, man. And he's walking through these villages, and lo and behold, the first thing that this cat does in this, it's interesting. It's only in the Gospel of Mark. The very first thing he does is cast out demons. I mean, doesn't heal anybody, doesn't feed anybody, he casts out demons. And so it's a spell, because we're suddenly introduced to a whole new species, a new creature, a new ethereal form called demons. And apparently, if you read the story, they can possess us. And it's not just one, it's fucking thousands. And, you go through the whole book of Mark and you're going, this is some weird shit. Because it never was introduced in particularly ancient Hebrewism, even Egyptian. I could go to Sumerian. But yet today it dominates, and it's the blame for everything that's going bad.
A scapegoat, right?
A scapegoat, there we go.
To take accountability for their own stuff. Everything is the devil. It's just ridiculous, right? How they've literally demonized, some spirits, and just blame everything on that. And because without that, they don't have any control. You're not going to be able to control the people if you don't have the bad guy and the hell and all this other bad stuff, right? So,
I think a lot of people nowadays have really gotten like the human aspect of the shadow confused or misconstrued with like a demonic entity. Like there's a lot of things that people have and within them, different desires, different things that they deny, that they have not explored, that they suppress. And when you do things like that, there are actual entities that are created. Now, this is not like Azazel coming to torment you in your life and cause you to do all of these bad things. This is really, by and large, the entity that is created through your own energy and your own psyche. These things are things that all of us as people have to sort out and deal with, and that we learn and grow from. Like sometimes things do seem to plague us for years, but they are opportunities and set of challenges if you look at them the right way. And a lot of people just want to say that like anything that is seemed to be or deemed to be unnatural or unpure or unclean is all like of a demonic nature. And it's just kind of like, no, it's only human. There's nothing demonic about any of that. It's natural human instincts, natural human desires, natural human inclinations that some people want to explore and some people don't want to explore. And like, you know, just it's like, it's no different than like with a lot of these priests that have abused these children. Like, they have these desires that have been suppressed, and through that there has been a huge shadow that has been created that cannot be denied, that cannot be overlooked. It's something that is going to grow in power and eventually overtake the person entirely if they do not take a time to look at it and deal with it, and to
But that really is what I call a lack of discipline. It's not a demon. It's not an angel. And you use the word unclean. We get that word from Judaism, you know, and so everyone goes over to the Old Testament. Well, so what's unclean? You know, but wait a minute. How can anything in life be unclean? How could anything be titled unclean if it was created by a quote unquote perfect God? It seems like the only one doing the perversion here is us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, when
Yeah,
you
well,
look
with religion being so restrictive, you know, it just kind of made these priests, it was just unattainable for them to go without, basically, right? And they ended up getting, misguided and led by who knows what, you know, just from the being restricted is what he's saying. You know, obviously it didn't work. You know, so yeah, I mean, yeah, of course they're going to blame it on the devil, I'm sure. Once they get caught, you know, the devil made me do it, right? But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, and that's where the other side is more like it's all about liberation and freedom and you know, it's okay, you know, like sex, you know, it's okay, it's a natural thing, we all do it, you know. It's I don't know why the church has to pervert it, really. It's what they've done.
Hypocrites said that the man who masturbates 2 or 3 times a week is a man who is full of more life.
Yeah, I would definitely.
There we go.
Oh, what happened to that now? I can't talk about that. I can't use that M word, you know, but yeah, and that's because it's so taboo.
Yeah, and that's like one of the biggest things that they want people to feel shame about is like your sexuality.
Being ashamed. You see, that's the hook.
Shame and guilt.
Shame and
shame, guilt, and fear. Yeah, that's their plague.
I've been detached from that stuff for years and years, but it is so powerful. It tries to creep back in all the freaking time. And you know, like I'm all about some decent morals, and you know, everyone's morality is going to be different from another's. But I think that most people can decide upon like certain things are acceptable and certain things are not acceptable. But as long as it is
a sense of decorum
else, and it's something that makes you happy, then I would say that it is a desire that should be cultivated and not something that should be repressed. And we have just we're living in a society now where everyone is like claiming to be so woke, but at the same time they're trying to repress everything.
I mean, yeah, I gotta be, you know, my first ceremony with Lucifer, Satan, is when I had gotten Anton LaVey's, you know, the Satanic Bible, and I was just 16 years old. I was living with a guy, Earl, still remember him, and his girlfriend, and they agreed, and we turned one of the rooms into our own temple. You know, it was, you know, with black sheets, and we had gotten everything. And I want to say it because the point in all of this, what I found was that my mind hadn't been really, you know, confused. And actually I found the whole thing to be rather cool. You know, to me, it's kind of like going in on a guided tour. And I remember when people found out that we were doing this, even amongst our hippie friends, it freaked some of them out, you know. But
I mean, I think a lot of people, if they would just really get over any of their preconceived notions about what magic and sorcery and witchcraft actually is,
and prayer,
and prayer, and just be willing to like participate in a ritual or even watch one, meditate to certain types of things. If they were just to give it a chance, a lot of people would see that like, holy crap, it's not what I thought it was at all. And actually they would feel much more of a camaraderie to it than they would ever imagine, because as we talked about on one of the prior episodes, this is the kind of stuff that all of our ancestors were doing. Like, they weren't in church, you know, they weren't in church. I mean, they were maybe for the past couple hundred years, maybe 1,000 years, but what were they doing for the eons prior to that? You know, Bingo. They were in the woods, they were in front of the bonfire, they were calling these spirits forth, they were working with the elements, they were working with nature spirits, they were working with animal spirits, they were doing all types of esoteric type of activity, of occult type of activity, as far back as you can imagine. So like, it is in all of our blood, it is in all of our DNA, much more than any of this Christianity or Islam or Judaism ever would be.
When I read the dictionary on demons and their names and their traits, I over the weekend I just grinned because I stopped and wrote myself a note, and I wrote, it looks like I'm reading a catechism, just reversed. Every sin that's listed in the catechism is assigned to a demonic entity. I'm going, yeah, and I'm going, okay, so, you know, because I grew up in an era where, you know, in the United States and Western culture, sexualism is highly repressed, still is. We don't know, I read recently that humans really don't know what to do with their sexuality. I mean, it's a powerful force. Most humans never get in touch with it. They only get into the fringe part of it, of what we call copulation. That's just one idea. Meditation. Meditation is equal or equated to prayer. Prayer is equated to studying the Bible. These are all meditative techniques that rewire your thinking. And so, go ahead, JD.
I'm sorry. When you get into magic and witchcraft, it's really just the directing and guiding of that energy that you have built up. You know, whether it's meditative energy, sexual energy, you know, adding meditation, raising of sexual energy and prayer all together, and then focusing and directing that energy towards a goal in life, towards something that you want to change or manifest. And really, like, a lot of people certainly are misusing their sexual energy. You know, like, while mindless masturbation can certainly be healthy from a physical standpoint, there is it's kind of like, it's a huge waste in a sense if you look at it from a magical aspect, because that's energy that could have been used in the cultivation of something beautiful and wonderful in your life, you know, above and beyond procreation.
Well, people don't use that I mean, I learned this from my initiation in Christianity, you should have an image in front of you. I mean, that's how it's done. And if you're going to indulge in it, which is what I think is one of the great privileges of being in the animal kingdom, is that we've never learned how to channel that energy specifically into creating and manifesting the desires that we have. I had a witch teach me that decades and decades ago.
Well, there you go.
And it works. If you're wanting a new house, next time you're being intimate with whoever, yourself or your partner, whatever it is, try putting a picture somewhere where you could see it at that moment. It's pretty interesting. I digress.
And if you're with a partner too, I mean, this is something that Sarah and I practice together, and it really has brought us everything that we could ever want of and dream of. I mean, really and truly.
Bingo.
And that, you know, when you are with your partner, you know, and the way that we do it is certainly we'll have a certain goal in mind or a certain thing that we want to manifest collectively together, and we will proclaim that, usually verbally at the moment of orgasm, but also lock into each other's eyes And while we are gazing into each other's eyes at that moment, we also are visualizing what it is that we want to manifest. And at the moment of orgasm, you just release that together. And when you do it right, you can certainly feel that you just made a major change in your reality, and that what you want is going to come to pass for sure.
But the thing is, JD, is that there's no teaching on that.
No.
None.
And that's really like the hidden teachings of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene really has to do with that sacred union.
Someone says, I don't consider myself an animal. Well, darling, we're part of the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
That is, through working with Lucifer, that's a big part of like what he has revealed to me and Abaddon as well, is that that nature, but especially the animals, like that is the spirit of Satan. That's the spirit of Lucifer. That is a big part of who we are in the animal kingdom, and we've lost those primal passionate aspects of ourselves. That is our creativity, that is our art, that is our magic, that is that energy just to create and to do things and to make happen. A lot of that is very primal and very animalistic, and that's something that through sorcery and witchcraft and shamanism, you really reconnect with those things in a major way.
It's probably what is the true divide, is the fact that when we transition into our natural state, which is a spirit state, that's what makes this experience so interesting, is that we really do become into a form. Back in the days, Lester Summerall, when he taught on demonology, he said, which was interesting because he was really a wise individual. He knew things. It was just unfortunately framed in a box of in religion. But he said the thing about spirits, when they enter a human body, these are actual, what he said are real entities, which we would say take possession, is that they do not know how to handle the senses or the emotions. It overwhelms them.
Yeah, I would definitely say that that's true. When I've gone through stages of possession, I definitely become overwhelmingly emotional, and I think a lot of that does stem from the fact that you are sharing a space with another consciousness, and it is as overwhelming as it is for you. It's an overwhelming thing for them when you come into that union. And a lot of amazing things will happen. You will learn a lot, but it can be taxing. Like when this happens to me, I can be an entirely different person. And it can not, all of it's positive, of course, because not everything is always going to be an entirely positive experience. I can certainly be a little crazy at times, but it's nothing that is, it's not anything.
Well, you want to hear something that'll blow your mind? What I was taught was that if a person has a sickness, a cancer, that spirit will, for the first time, experience that sickness as well. And, we think that this is a very limited experience. It's not. When a true spirit enters into a physical body, it doesn't know sickness. It doesn't know the pain. It doesn't know the corruption. And it is said that those spirits that actually sometimes hijack other bodies, other souls, even though it's more of a Vulcan mind meld, they're going to be changed as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you'll see too, like, when this happens to me, typically I'll look different even. Like, I won't really look like myself. Typically I'll lose about 10 pounds, which is not a terrible thing. But it does, for me, when you go deep into experiences like this, it can certainly have an effect on everyday life, because it does make it makes it hard to function and do like your everyday routine type of things, because you're so ungrounded and you're so in the clouds that all you really do is focus on spiritual things. So entering into stages of possession it can be certainly dangerous, and I don't recommend it to anyone that is not experienced. But of course, these things can and will happen to people whether or not they welcome it in to happen. They can just spontaneously happen, which is what happened to me in the beginning. But that's why people like me are here. If anyone ever has any issues or difficulties, Nina and I can certainly help you navigate any of the pitfalls and things that go part and parcel with possession and evocation and invocation and things of that nature.
It's interesting as we talk about this, because it's so taboo, when it says, when you're evoking a spirit, and then, divine being, angel, demon, however you want to call it. And it you have all this caution and all this around this, but yet I come from the school where I was an intercessory prayer warrior. That's what I did. I mean, there was a time in my life where I was up at 4:00 in the morning, meeting with others with the same gifting, quote unquote, and we would, of course, praying in tongues, but we were doing nothing that's any more different than a person who is conjuring or evoking a demonic spirit, an angelic spirit, doesn't matter, because that's exactly what we were doing. We were communing with the spirits. I mean, I would get times where I knew something was going on in a person's life. That came through channeling. Why? Because I was in that state of mind, that state of consciousness. I don't see any difference than JD when you do a ceremony. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all really just like very shamanistic.
And they don't tell you, by the way, you should be cautious when you're in the Christian circles. They encourage it. And it fucks with people's minds who aren't ready for it. I've seen many a person that became more mentally distraught because of the experience with, quote unquote, the Holy Spirit and everything that went with it. It blew their minds. They weren't, yeah. So anyway, Nina, you're being quiet up there, girl.
Yeah, no, I'm just listening and agreeing. It's when you look at what they're doing in the church, I mean, that's more cult than anything else, I would say, with the whole eating the blood and the flesh. And I mean, everything is about the blood there and saved by the blood. And I mean, talk about gross.
I've never been in a ritual, Luciferian, satanic, however you want to say it, where they did an offering plate.
No,
I just never seen that. It's like, well, welcome to Lucifer. Oh, by the way, here's the offering plate. Could you please put in? That's what I keep telling people about Lucifer. The gal has never asked me for a penny, never. But the Jesus cat, hell, he's like his daddy, man. He wants 10%. Mm-hmm. The big guy.
He's a hustler.
But I'm being jovial about it, but I'm also being very serious. I mean, JD, do you pass an offering plate around?
No.
I didn't think so.
Time to time, and if they do, I do use it for things that will promote.
Giving is all. I'm just talking about this whole ritual of tithing and giving. Yeah. It's having not of the heart. It's forced upon.
Being forced to. Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah. It's one thing to pay for a service or tip somebody because you enjoy their content or whatever, but to have to every week, 10%, I mean, that's a burden. That's taking food out of people's mouths, so.
I think if you find joy in it, then I'm all for it. But if you're not finding true joy in your tithing, or really if you're not finding true joy in anything that you're doing in your religion, then there's something wrong.
Now, I like giving. I'm led by the Spirit. I will go by, you can call it your intuition, but that's what Lynn and I love doing. We love giving money. Sometimes we'll sneak it in a person's back pocket or purse, but that to us it's a thrill.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I ain't told that I have to do it, It's like, holy crap,
And that's the kind of thing that these demonic entities promote in my life, is to be giving and to be charitable and to be a good steward of the earth, a good steward to nature, a good steward to my community and my environment. Like, all of these things are promoted, and I try my best to cultivate them. And it's done, and I do it not to be seen or not for recognition by these spirits or anyone else. I do it because it's the right thing to do, or it feels like it's the right thing to do for me, because I'm a firm believer in that my conscience is the authentic voice of God, and as long as I abide by that, then I'm really,
I like that,
doing everything in my power, spiritually and otherwise, to be living a good life. Like, and that could be different. That can mean a million different things to someone else. Like, it may not go against their conscience or their authentic voice of God to cheat on their wife, but it would for me. And that's not something that I would agree to do anything with. And of course, like, if I did do that and it was going against the authentic voice of God, then you better believe I'm going to face some karmic debt for that action. I do believe that if I do go against that, then something is going to take place in my life to get my attention, to say, hey, dude, you went against your own shit here, buddy. Like, what are you doing?
One of my...
Well, there's natural consequences too, right? So, and that's, that's just the way life goes. But
I see occultism so often being more in tune to nature than I do with the formalized religions. In fact, the thing about formalized religion, organized religion, it's so apart from nature. It creates a unnatural environment, whereas in JD, I speak of you specifically, when you do your offerings and your ceremonies, there is the sense of fire. There's the sense that it's outdoors, it's outside, it's within the elementals' influence, which we would call nature, earth. Now, I think that those are where the true spirits dwell.
And it makes it easier for them to go through that gateway, because you're creating powerful portals when you do that. Yeah.
Wow, that's so true. So true. And that's why, excuse me.
I guess he's got dogs that are unruly. That's what's going on.
Shut up! That's what I'm telling.
Yeah, that's the thing about pets. They're always unpredictable.
Okay, I'm back. We have someone at the front door. It's like, geez.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, you'd be a fool to walk in this house. I mean, they're small, but Christ's sakes, they get a hold of you and you'll never let go. But I want to get back to the whole aspect, because, I meditate on this. I think about this all the time. Excuse me, folks, with the dogs. I can't get up and go to the front door. So, it's. That's what can I say? Yeah, we're all human. This is a live show, and it's real. Is that what I have found with the occult? There is an influence of earth and nature that was lacking in my previous religion.
It's the old ways. That's what it is, So, I mean, you go back, like, I'm from Norway, so you got the whole northern stuff, this is, and we never let go of that either. Even though, yes, we call ourselves Christian now because we were forced to, we still uphold the old ways. We still, it's still near and dear. So, yeah.
Nina, you and I talked about this. JD, I've never really talked to you much about it, but we've talked about it on these shows, but the influence of your former belief system. Do you still, it's cutting that thing and breaking away from it. That's,
I mean, I've had, it definitely has tried to make its way back into my life here and there. This last period of possession, I went through a possession period a few months ago. I think I was possessed for about 90 days. And a part of that was religion trying to creep back in there on me for a minute. Like, even with someone that, like myself, that's been doing this as long as I've been doing it, I still have that imprinted on my psyche. And I had a few weeks where I kind of had some like, holy crap, what am I doing moments. And it was just kind of like, I looked at the world and what was going on. And at the time I was having a lot of psychic visions, and I was like predicting the dates of all these earthquakes, and it was happening, and I was just like, holy shit. And like, things were just really getting intense for me. And I think this was kind of like my once and for all putting this behind me. And I've done a reverse baptism on myself, and I think that I'm going to do it again, just to really signify to the spirits in the universe and myself that I'm like, that once and for all I am breaking ties with this control mechanism that has really done nothing but make me feel like less than what I should be feeling about myself, like, for my entire life. And I think a lot of people are made to feel their imperfectness, and it's highlighted constantly of how imperfect they are and how they have failed to do this, that, and the other, and how unhappy God is with them because of X, Y, and Z, and that they really need to try their best to make up for it. And while they're trying to make up for it, they fail again and again, and they fall even further from grace. And it's just kind of like a never-ending battle of like chasing your tail. And I think that it is powerful, and it does come back every now and again, or it has tried to come back and get me, so to speak. But
is it the fear factor of that? The curse of Peter?
Yeah, I think it's the fear factor, really. It's the fear factor in that, like, what if this is true, and what if I have like damned my eternal soul to a never-ending torment, which is just absolutely freaking ridiculous in the first place. To think that something like that
it's sick.
Would be possible. It is sick.
Yeah.
I mean, and the audience, you do realize that there is a curse. I mean, that it's not talked about, and you probably see it on TBN or anyone else talking about it. But the curse is written. I think it's in 1 Peter, where it says it would be better for a person to never have been born than to taste of the goodness and the sacrifices of the Christ and then profane it by rejecting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
shit.
In the Mormon church, basically, like, was that the ultimate sin, which would be even worse than murdering someone, would be if Jesus did reveal himself unto you in a full manifestation, and you knew it to be true, and then you denied it.
Well, the real big sin is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. It's the one sin that cannot be forgiven.
Yeah. And I mean, have I done all
fear?
I've done a lot of things.
Right?
Things in ritual would be looked upon maybe unfavorably, or looked upon like, holy crap, that's pretty extreme. But there's a lot of things that we do in these religions that are pretty extreme, like, well,
that's freaking extreme. I don't know what blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is, because they never actually tell you that. But I mean, holy crap. I mean, if that's the one sin that, apparently that's the sin that will send you into oblivion. In other words, you don't exist anymore. Is that not occultish?
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, curses. I mean, we talk about when people talk about the occult, witchcraft, they always think of the thing about curses. And I told someone here recently, I said, give me a freaking break. I said, you never read that thing called the Bible? The damn thing is full of curses right from the get-go.
Well, I mean, go to a Catholic Mass, Catholic Mass is so ritualistic and very, very similar to what I do in a black magic or sorcery ritual type of ritual. And, you know, like what people, and my ex-wife included, who is a cradle Catholic, you know, even she does not understand the concept of the transfiguration, in that like actual sorcery is taking place up there at that altar, that the priest is actually through alchemy transforming that wafer into flesh, transforming that wine into blood, and you're eating flesh and you're drinking blood, not conceptually, like you actually are doing it. And my ex-wife was like, no, that's not how it is. And I'm like, yeah, it is. That's what makes you a Catholic, from my understanding. If you don't believe that, then you need to be going to a Baptist church or a Presbyterian church or something like that. Because like, that's, from my understanding, like that's the major thing that makes you a Catholic. And like, even Catholics don't understand what is actually even going on, or what they're doing, or the motions that they're going through, or what they are actually subjecting themselves to. They don't even really fully understand.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, if there's one thing about Catholicism, it's idolatry everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever walked into a Catholic church, it freaks me out at times, because I'm looking and like,
with that guy hanging on the cross?
Yeah, well, not only the cat, you know, the Jew on the stick. I mean, you know.
Well, that's what I mean, the Jew on the stick.
But then they got all these statues, and then they got the thing with the saint thing, and I'm going, what? You know, and if you look at a Catholic, I mean, the ceremony, they bring in the incense. Well, that dates back all the way back into the Old Testament with this Yahweh God. And then I'm really freaking out, because I'm going, so who is this mother? Who is it? Who's really being talked about here?
I mean,
right.
And like when you look at the end, like at the multiple inquisitions, you know, I mean, they're basically like just genocides, and like how many people have been murdered and killed, you know, just because they did not agree with your religious point of view. Like there has been more killing in the name of God and Jesus than you could ever imagine, and no one even wants to like look at that, or even like acts like it didn't even happen. It's crazy.
If someone said something that they're diehard Catholics and they love hearing people talk about Mass when they don't have a clue. Well, you know, I experienced it, you know, but you know, to me, this isn't a contest. You know, it's the sharing of knowledge, because that's the problem. You know, we're taught these traditions, but we're never taught where the traditions came from. And again, it's this dog chasing its tail. It comes right back to, it was paganism to begin with. JD, as you brought out, right? I mean, shamanism is how we communicated with the ethereal world for tens of thousands of years, if not hundreds of thousands. It was never done in a building. It was always done outside. My vision quest that I went on as a youngster.
I encourage any religious person here that's watching this to really consider why they do the things they do. And I think 9 out of 10 of them are going to tell you it's just because that is just what I've always done. That's what my family taught me to do. That's what I've always done. It wasn't from a position of, well, I'm interested in this. This feels right for me. After investigating everything else or looking into other places, this is what feels truly, truly right. Have they ever considered or gone outside of that, or peeked over the fence to see what else is out there? Or are they just doing it because that is just what they are supposed to do?
True. I mean, I look at the traditions, and Blazing River, I got what you were saying. I'm just, you know, ribbing you.
And I get it too. I don't know everything about it, but I did for the longest time try my best to inject my body, mind, and soul into that. But it just, for me, there just was nothing there. What was there, I will tell you, was a lot of discomfort and feeling like there was something being hidden there. I will tell you that. Like, I felt that all the time. Now, to what degree things were going on, or what was actually happening, or what I was receiving there with that, I don't know. It could just be like what the Catholic Church is trying to cover up and hide overall. But
They're hiding something. It's like we talked about yesterday, the baptism. And Jenny's point just blew me away, and it's something I have on my notes over here, is that dead water. I mean, and then you got the chemicals in it, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, there is something so much deeper here going into this. And of course, it's the whole, you said, JD, you'd actually done reverse baptism. Talk about that, because it's one of the things many of us in this discussion have been baptized, and I don't want any lingering contract or a subclause to the contract that I haven't addressed. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. When I did this for myself, I called upon 4 demonic entities that kind of stepped forward and wanted to be a part of this. And that for me was Azazel, Abaddon, Belial, and Asmodeus.
Can you tell me, what is that last one? Asmodeus?
Asmodeus.
Yeah.
Asmodeus.
Yeah, he connected a lot with sexual energy and lust. He can be used for many different things. He's a very, very, very powerful, but especially when it comes to utilizing sexual energy and utilizing that in magic.
Okay.
Sex magic. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He came in my mind while I was meditating one day, and I didn't even know what the cat was. But anyway.
And then it is actually awesome for healing as well. And that was something that I really never really realized too much. And that's something that Sarah had stumbled upon, his miraculous healing abilities. And so that's something that we've been working with him here recently as well. But I devised a ritual where I basically renounced any of my religious baptisms, renounced any types of oaths that I had taken. And then I used water. I did submerge myself in water, but then I did utilize a cauldron of fire after that. And I did burn the baptismal certificate that I received from the Catholic Church. I didn't have any of the documentation from my Mormon baptism, but I did have the document from my Catholic baptism. And so, as much as it pained me to do it, because I was baptized with my second daughter was baptized at the same time I was baptized. So it was something that we shared together, a special moment. So it was difficult for me to do this, especially because of that. But I do feel that going through a motion or a magical ritual of that nature, of course, it does have a profound spiritual, energetic effect. But one thing that I feel that it does is it lifts the veil. It removes the veil from the person that I believe a lot of these religions place upon people. Like, there's so many things that you could point out to a religious person that should be obvious, and they'd be like, oh yeah, duh. But like, they just don't get it. They're like, what? I don't see it that way. And it's like, it's because there is some mechanism that is in place, a curtain, a veil, or something that prevents them from seeing the truth when it's like right in front of them.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I even went a step further with the whole, because I did the same thing, and renounced bloodlines, like my bloodline, everyone before me, my grandparents, and all of that, because I was heavily influenced by my grandmother in particular. And I had an old Bible that she had received on her confirmation. So like back in the early 1900s, and I ripped that up and I burnt it. I also had baptized my own children because I didn't know any better back then. And I had some candles left over from those baptisms, and I used those. So a lot of these things, you use them as symbols, you know, and being able to discard them, burn them, and get rid of them, and renounce it, not just for me, but our whole bloodline, you know, to be able to do this for all of us. Because I know on the other side, they're probably regretting being in this religion as well. And so I think it's important to just discard all of it. Yeah.
We ought to do, next week, we ought to do a show dedicated to how people can do step by step.
We should have J.S. Garrett on for that, because he's kind of perfected the ritual. That's where we got the idea from. So, and he has actually a course that can teach you how to do it. He can even perform it for you if that's something that you're into. But I think that one there, I think it's really important to do it yourself, honestly. It goes with all magic, to be honest. But yeah.
Well, being that originally it was you to begin with, no one took your proxy, you know.
Well, that's just it, right? So yeah.
I mean, my mother she stuck me out because my parents had separated, and when she came out to visit, she snuck me out and took me to the Catholic Church and had me baptized, not my brother. And as we look back now in our lives, my brother and I, it's so interesting. I'm convinced that ritual that my mother went through, like you, Nina, she thought she was doing the right thing, how it had an influence in my life, whereas with my brother, it did not. I think there's something to it. And then
there's something to it.
Yeah, then as an adult, you know, took the steps, went for the full immersion. And the weird thing on that one, though, is that, you know, I came up out of the water speaking in tongues. And now, even since I've left the church and renounced it, and et cetera, that has never left. JD, got a thought on that?
Well, I mean, I think that is certainly a spiritual imbuement and something that is going to stay with you and stick with you. I mean, I've learned all types of spiritual techniques and different things. And I've like put feathers in my cap, pulling from all of my different spiritual experiences, even, you know, with the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church. You know, a lot of the things are relevant, and it's not all inherently bull crap. So I think that, you know, whatever spiritual gift in that speaking of tongues that you were able to ascertain from that baptism is something that will be useful for you in what you're doing now, for sure.
I can still prophesy. I mean, I know these gifts were confirmed on me, but I have a different point of view now. I believe that this religion absconded from these abilities. You can call it supernatural, or I think they're natural giftings amongst us humans. And go ahead, brother.
It is, and it all comes have you ever read the book called The Latent Power of the Soul?
I cannot recall. No.
It's a very short book. I think it was written in the 30s, and this was something that was given to me when I was going to a Christian-based therapy when I first started going crazy. My ex-wife took me to this. I was going to a psychiatrist and a therapist, and this therapist that she chose was a lady that she used to be into shamanism, and now she converted to Christianity. And she shared this book with me called The Latent Power of the Soul, and this guy, and it was written from the perspective of a Christian, but he was saying that, like, in the beginning, that Adam was, of course, like a very, very, you know, a perfect human specimen, but that the Garden of Eden expanded to encompass like the entirety of Pangea. So the Garden of Eden was like anywhere that it was dry land on the earth, and that he was so powerful physically and psychically that he was able to be omnipresent. He was able to take care of like the entire garden, which spanned the entire globe from wherever he was in that one location. And that, you know, after that, the eating of the apple and all of that these powers were stripped away from man and repressed, but that these psychic faculties and these psychic gifts are something that is inherent within all of us, But in this book, it was all about that the cultivation of these powers is an evil thing and is of the devil and is of Satan. So while these are qualities that we should all possess, they are not anything that should be used or cultivated.
Interesting. Because I can lay my hands on a person and at times I can see events.
Mm-hmm.
More often I see past events more than I see future events.
Have you ever done any Reiki healing? You seem like you would be really good at energy.
Never tried that, but I'm a natural healer. I lay hands. In fact, when Lynn and I were dating, it blew her mind because she used to suffer from migraines, and laid hands on her, and she said that everyone who's a healer knows this. You know, it's like fire comes out of your hands. I mean, that's what she described it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what Sarah says about mine get very warm, and sometimes there can be like electrical impulses and things.
Yeah.
But you know, the main thing to always remember for all you healers out there is that you are not always going to be able to help everyone, and you have to come to terms with that and move on. You know, like most people, you're going to be able to help them, but there's going to be that one that you're not. Don't get hung up on that. Just do your best and move forward and keep helping other people.
And get permission before you touch them.
Yeah.
Right. Now, this is another thing that the church, you know, is holding back, right? It's how powerful we really are, right? These are the things that they, you know, are suppressing in us as the species, you know, telling us that we were born a sinner and, you know, just laying on all this bullcrap on us from the day we're born, you know, and people don't realize how powerful that you guys are, that we all are, you know. It doesn't take somebody special to do the stuff that we're doing. Anybody can do it. It's just a matter of practicing and doing it and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the thing, getting back into our own power, you know, I think is very important. And that's kind of what it's all about. It's not about scary stuff or whatever. It's about being in your own power and getting back to nature and you know, finding our own true history. That's another one that's been erased and lied to. And there's so many things. That rabbit hole goes down so deep. And I'm excited to see that people are starting to wake up now. So
yeah.
Like when it comes to like Baal, he is that the bull-headed god that, you know, they said like the Phoenicians were sacrificing their children to and all of that. Like that never happened. They weren't doing that. That is just another lie to keep people away from working with this because, oh, what an atrocity. Oh, that is what these people were doing. No, they were not doing it.
You know, it's like we're in a football stadium, but we're locked in the bathroom. You know, you think you got everything you need, but no, you're still locked in the bathroom. You know, the main show's out there. You know? So, all right, panel, this has been fun. I love it. Thank you, chat room, all of y'all. You know, we love you. And panel, this has been great. Make sure, Nina, you have your show, your Hump Day show.
Yeah, that's on tonight. Make sure you come and join us for the Hump Day message. I'll put the link in the chat here. And cool. It's a free message from Spirit.
At 9:30 Eastern?
It is at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. And JD, I know I catch your shows when I can. I love them. They are, yeah, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do regular uploads. I am Sarah and I are going to decide upon a night to do our consistent live streams, and I think that's going to be at either 9 or 10 p.m. on Friday night, and we're going to start being consistent with that and choose a date and a time. So come check us out from the light of the dark.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. I love it. Yeah, that is so cool. Hey, Lost in Space, how they say spin and love says, yes, this is really good. Well, chat room, you've just been great. Thank you. And Jenny says, I never get Nina's notifications. Then you have to go back and probably physically redo it.
Yeah, go back, subscribe again, hit that bell, and to be honest, even though you do that, I find with other channels, so you still don't get notified. So the best way to do it is go into the scheduled video and hit that little notify me thing. Then you'll get it. So
you're messing with the powers out to be, Nina. They don't like that. It means
when you speak too much truth, we can't have that, right?
Can't have that. Hell no. No. I love it. All right, everybody. Thank you all. We send you love. Thank you for, and this is why free thinkers, when we get together, we may not always agree. But the thing about it is we can always say, love you, man. Or, if you'll do that.
Love to disagree, right? Or
yeah,
agree
listen.
to disagree sometimes. Yeah.
There was a girl that I knew in my youth. Her name was Alice. I thought she was just a real biatch, but her challenging us as a group all the time, it made us a lot more sharper. It really did.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Keep us on our toes.
What is that, JD? Iron sharpens iron, something like that? I don't know.
Something like that, yeah.
All right, everybody. Until we see you again, next week we'll be back here. We're going to be talking about I like how to cancel out the fascism. It's going to go right in tune with the other. So, all right, everybody. Much love to you. We'll